Nothing better than a jar full of pot. It's a little jar, but love this Master Kush. So, going over my stories today, I actually came across an awesome story that I'm actually really another story I'm excited to talk about. The price of prohibition. How much has prohibition really cost us all together? Really awesome subject. I think it's probably one of the best things to even really talk about, because when you really put it down and break it down and put it out there, it'll actually let some people see that prohibition really is not worth how much we pay. So far with prohibition, we're calling it the war on drugs. Give me 1 second. Santa Anas are kicking, so I had to close my window. And now, like I said, we've called it the war on drugs. And the war on drugs, we now know, has been a complete disaster. So far, we have spent more money. We have created more poverty. We have even lost more lives. Stories such as a guy here in California, he got shot literally in the face by a police officer during a home invasion raid. Officer broke in, they're raiding his house looking for marijuana. Officer broke in, and this officer is being called a drug war hero. If you really want to think about it, that's actually a drug war criminal. To just walk in and shoot somebody. They came to find out there was no weapons at all in the guy's property. The guy was a good citizen, paid his taxes, community member, all that stuff. Broke into his house on a tip that they were looking for marijuana, shot him in the face, found a little bit of marijuana. That's where our war on drugs has taken us. 100 years of prohibition we have been facing right now. Calling it the war on drugs, killing innocent people, putting innocent people in jail and giving them records, and creating homeless and poverty. I mean, we are literally doing this to ourselves. Well, I can't say we're doing it to ourselves. It's not like you people out there actually want this to happen. We can't really tell the government, hey, look, because they're too busy up there in their little offices going, hey, my feet feel warm. Why aren't their feet warm? They're just not working hard enough. Oh, he's got marijuana. Give him a criminal record so he can't work anymore. And then let's complain that he's not working anymore, and that's why he's homeless. So, according to the National Drug Control Policy, the federal government has spent $15 billion on the war on drugs in 2010 alone. State and local authorities would add another $25 million to that total. So in the end, we're actually looking at our government spending $500 per second. So take $500 out of your account right now and think that's happening every second. 500, 500, 500, 500, 500. Add that up. 500 times 5. 5 seconds went by, and that's what the government's been spending. So, you guys want to use my lighter to burn that money? Basically, America literally has, being as small as it is, has the largest population in the world. And literally 2 billion people are in prison, incarcerated over non-violent drug possession. Because of the fact they're going like this. Got a little bit of marijuana in my hand. They went to prison, facing criminal charges. Some of them have been beaten. Now that they have been in prison, they've been raped, introduced to gangs, introduced to violence. When they get out of prison, they'll never be able to be proper members of society, like I've said before in other videos. So what are we doing to these people? Just because they had a little bit of pot? Since 1971, since Ronald Reagan actually declared the whole war on drugs, the United States of America has spent over $1 trillion. How much is our national debt up to right now? And these are just points that we all need to point out and realize that prohibition has actually created that national debt. It's not helping the debt, it's created the debt. Our debt wouldn't be a debt if we actually just end prohibition. Now, during the start of prohibition, we actually had, believe it or not, these same rules applied to alcohol. So during that time that alcohol was the illegal substance that we were dealing with, it was said by an H.L. McKinn. Now, mind you, this is in 1925, being said by, just a Republican or Democrat leader, whatever. He literally turned around and says, Prohibition has not only failed in its promises, but actually created additional serious and disturbing social problems throughout society. There is not less drunkenness in the Republic, but more. The cost of government is not smaller, but vastly greater. Respect for the law has not increased, but diminished. Those words were spoken about alcohol, not marijuana, but we're looking at the same exact thing right now. Police officers breaking into homes and shooting people. There was the story quite a few months back about a Texas woman who was literally raped by two officers on the side of a road at a gas station. Basically, they were looking for marijuana that they supposedly says was inside of her. Really? Really? This is where we're supposed to respect the law when any one of these guys could shoot us, rape us, beat us, and turn us into criminals. So who's the criminal? Who's the terrorist? And in the end, do these guys face charges? Do these guys get any type of punishment? Sometimes I have to say, we need to start holding our law accountable. These are not the actions of a police officer I want to see on my property or protecting me. Protect and serve, not victimize and criminalize. But despite all these bad things that we keep hearing, as it pushes forward, we do have positives though. I mean, it's time for an optimism. Basically, we have Sir Branson, who actually released a UN article about, or the UN's article about decriminalizing all drugs. So the United Nations is looking into decriminalizing all drugs as well. Our very own presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders. Hey, I'm a Sanders for president person right here. Bernie Sanders says, okay, and I changed the words from the article, so when you go back to read the article and say, hey, it doesn't say that, I changed it because he actually changed the standpoint. He actually turns around and says that he would remove marijuana from the DEA's Controlled Substance Act. So it wouldn't be a controlled substance. It would be removed. So there would be no federal charges at all if it's not even on the list. Basically, these are all things that move us away from prohibition, but at the same time, we still continue to face the bad side of prohibition, the downside of prohibition. At any moment, I could be recording right now, and 20 officers can barge into my house because of the buckets of weed I've showed you guys. And you can watch them bust me and do whatever they're going to do to me right here on video. It could happen. It could happen after I turn it off. They could all be surrounding my house right now. I could push pause or stop, and as soon as that happens, you won't see this video. You never know. That could just happen. Now, there was a debate, presidential debate for the Republicans held in Colorado, and of course, they were expecting to hear marijuana all over the place. Marijuana this, marijuana that. They were getting ready for the marijuana debate. Marijuana presidential debate. It only came up to one candidate was asked one question. Basically, the Ohio governor, hope I'm saying this name right, John Cash, was asked to give insight to what he feels about legalized marijuana. His reply was typical Republican reply. He says he's not in favor of it because it sends mixed signals to kids about drugs. And then he continues to talk about how he has dealt with overdoses during his years as administrator. Who's overdosing on marijuana? Who's talking about overdoses? We're talking about marijuana, sir. And I guess in response to his reply, Roger Stone actually turned around and said that he reportedly fired Cash from the 1976 Reagan campaign for selling marijuana to fellow fieldmen. So while he's out there campaigning for Ronald Reagan, he was selling marijuana to other campaigners and got fired for it. And now he's running for president saying that it sends mixed signals. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm getting mixed signals here. What's it gonna be? Basically, it's Republican sandbagging is what they call it, I guess is the term they're using for it. I've heard all the candidates use it. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. The only one that I've actually really heard out of all of them actually stand up and say, you know what? This war on drugs is literally just a terrorist act from our government on our own people, criminalizing our own population for what they do and what they choose to do. Granted, I don't want to see you guys all high and drunk out on the roads driving around. I see it all the time anyways, but I don't want to. Okay? I don't want to see you guys using in front of my children, just like I don't use in front of my children. I make children go away. I stay out of sight from children. Don't like children around me. I mean, these are all just common sense things. Doesn't mean prohibition's helping with them. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope I gave you guys some good education here. Remember, educate before you medicate. You all have a peaceful, positive, and productive day. Coming at you guys.